Hello, Uta here on yet another snowy day in the Hudson Valley. I hope that the maybe 2.5 inches of snow will be enough for me to do a little bit of Nordic skiing in my woods. And I am here to discuss this 13 place nominated for Academy Awards film called Emelia Perez, in which someone who has renamed himself Carla Sofia, who used to be Carlos, uh, is playing the character in the film who thinks that he's a woman trapped in a man's body. And not only that, it's a musical, which is a sin against all musicals. Rodgers and Hammerstein and Irving Berlin are rolling in their graves. Uh, so it's very interesting to me because supposedly there are quite a few men like my ex-husband Nettie who don't like this. They don't like it that this dude who is pretending to be a woman, who is married and has a daughter. So, maybe with the fallout from things that he said that nobody likes, she will separate from him and she could join our data and be trans widow number 66. Okay, so yeah, so it's a mob story, Mexican drug cartel story. So that's really kind of horrible. Um, you know, I would imagine that since the Trans Journalists Association Style and Coverage Guide doesn't want reporters to report at all on the crimes by these guys, um, then I would imagine that they don't like it that this movie got made, this musical, and it's just really quite amazing. Is the song actually in English? There's this penis to vagina part, and I'm waiting for Mr. Menno of the fantastic Mr. Menno channel to make his spoof on that. I mean, it's almost like it spoofs itself. So, um, you know, apparently, this Carla Sofia actor guy has posts that people dug up from the past, which will probably eliminate him and the film Emelia Perez from getting any of the awards. This will be interesting to see, how far you can push Hollywood down the yellow brick woo path. And so that's been an interesting development. And the whole idea of, masquerading as female in order to avoid the law, I mean, that's not exactly a new take. I think that Some Like It Hot with Tony Curtis. I think they were doing that. They were going around in drag with Marilyn Monroe, because they needed to escape the law or escape some criminals or something. So okay, that's kind of an old trope. It's an overplayed tune, and so and I guess it's on Netflix now, and so Netflix is going to take, a hit for that, I would imagine. I would imagine that there are some people who are canceling their Netflix accounts. I just didn't find much to watch there, so I used to be a member, but I didn't renew it going back 3 or 4 years. So, please, though, do, all of you loyal stalwarts and new subscribers, please do tag this video on X and other places where the subject of this Carlos Sofia comes up, and where the Emelia Perez comes up. And I don't think there's too much else to say except that it comes off as very contrived, and it kind of shows that world for what it is. So there you go. And this is another one. On X, I have been notified that a man who claims to be female, who has taken on the name Amaya Deakins, Deakins, formerly Robert Edward Deakins, of somewhere in West Virginia, he openly says, has now posted on X as supposedly a WPATH associate, meaning the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, that lobbying entity, composed mainly of men like him and Marcy Bowers and Ann Lawrence and those types, all of whom appear to be autogynephiles, men who are erotically aroused by the thought and by the pretending that they are female. So they are the ones kind of driving the childhood trans identity concept, because they want a rationale for why they did what they did, and they know that what they did broke up their families, and that they were not responsible fathers after they suddenly declared that they're female. So this Deakins person is, I guess, about 54 years old, and he says he transitioned at 40 after becoming a father and being married, and he put on his Facebook account, which is mostly just self-portraits of him, some of them with a filter and some not. And he's, seeking narcissistic fuel, compliments from his followers and stuff for how he looks, because all he does is post these photos, except I went back a year or so, and he's got a long, long rant regarding his ex-wife and how she owes him back child support. And I posted his rant with editing out his wife's name and where she lives. And I basically assume that most of this can be refuted. He's making claims that she says how she misses her children, and because it apparently is the case that he's supposed to get $800 a month from her for their son, it is apparent that she makes a decent living, because they can't charge you child support if you don't have the income. And it's apparent to me when I read between the lines of all of his very exaggerated statements about his ex-wife that he is extremely jealous of her, that she got remarried. I would assume that if Dr. Deakins, PhD psychologist, has a male love interest, that he would post dude on his Facebook. Of course, I don't know what he posts on X. Please do tell me in the comments what he posts. We would definitely like more information. But what I'm gathering from the fact that he's about 54, and so 14 years ago when he was 40, he so-called transitioned. He said, I don't know, about a year ago that the son that he should be getting child support for was about 18. And so that means, do the math, that this son was about 4. So this is a father who had a 4-year-old son and an older daughter. The daughter is apparently an adult already and emancipated. Um, he abandoned his role as father and went along this path, of course, uh, becoming an advocate through the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, WPATH. And apparently, he wants to seek attention now by setting things to rights, apparently, and admitting that there is a misdiagnosis rate of, he said, plus or minus 30%. So that's kind of interesting. He doesn't cite where he gets that number. And I don't really understand if he's a veteran of the U.S. military, which he says he is, and he has a PhD in psychology, and he has been an active clinician working. I do wonder, how it is that he went through the court system and got everything in his favor, got child support and stuff, makes claims about his ex-wife having, addiction problems and stuff like that. But as I said in my blog on this, my blog being utahagen.substack.com, I'll put that in the notes. I basically refute everything he says, and I say, look at this. He's doing this for narcissistic fuel. He appears to be very jealous of his ex-wife. And to me, this kind of thing, putting it out in public, really defaming his wife, saying where she is, what her name is, all this kind of thing, that's not good for the kids. And it's really doing a wrong thing to a woman who I believe is a beleaguered trans widow. If you're out there, my dear, contact me. I've started just putting my email in the bottom of the notes. So that's really all I have to say. A lot is hitting the fan. And of course, we've got the crazy non-binary, I want to call it, non-binary woo at the Democratic National Committee elections for their leaders. And all you need to do is put that into a search. And I think that was last weekend, the first weekend of February. And it appears that, it's really messing up their math. They're having a hard time. And the thing is, they want to separate out, the Democratic Party does, who is male and who is female, and make what they call gender equity of the leaders so that there are equal number of males and females, which, that's an admirable goal. Although I think the goal of having competent people who can be sane is probably, should be the highest goal. So, and then they want non-binary, and there's this dude who was all dressed in white who claims that there was a hate crime against him. He probably would call this video a hate crime. He's very clearly male. He's probably a gay male, and he wants to be elected to leadership position in the Democratic National Committee because he's non-binary, he says. And that is his credential. So it appears that the transgender world and the woke left just can't help themselves. And I'm just going to point out, do you see the frond from my asparagus fern? I'm going to let it open up, and I'm going to probably have to trim it then. The rest of it is still kind of short. I would like it to fill out, but I wanted you to see that. Thank you to everyone. Please do be sure to like and make a comment, even if it's Rock on Uta. I really appreciate that you did that. My channel is growing, and uh, this is this is starting to trend. The truth about this is starting to trend. You can help by sharing on the platforms where you have accounts. Thank you. Time to get out and do my skiing.